Well, we did it. 10,000 subscribers. I'm not too good at these sort of things, so I'm going to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. When I first started this channel, it was for an avenue to voice my thoughts and opinions on anime, because I didn't really have anyone to talk to about this sort of thing. Of course, I hoped my channel would grow as any content creator would, because I wanted my voice to be heard, but I didn't really expect much to come of it. I had tinkered with the idea of starting an anime channel or blog for a while, but it wasn't until I finished Shinsekai that I said, you know what, fuck it, I'll just do it. And about a year later, here we are. I have to say, I'm floored with how much the channel has grown over the last 5 months or so, and I'd like to think it's because my content is actually improving. At least that's the way I see it. Hopefully, though, this is just the beginning. Still, I just want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed already, and I'm really glad you enjoy my content. Unless you're just here to listen to my shitty opinions on anime. That's most likely the case. Anyway, let's get this Q&A show on the road. I promised I'd do this 10K special for you, and I'm good on my word. In my vlog a few weeks back, I asked you guys to send me questions you want me to answer, ranging anything from anime to more personal stuff or just flat out stupid shit. I got plenty of responses, and I'm going to try to answer them all. Just know if your question didn't get answered, it was probably a repeat question, and you can find it somewhere else in the video. I also asked for questions on Twitter, so we're going to go through those too. But first, why don't we start with the YouTube comments? Alright, let's see what we got here. The Puss Destroyer says, "This review is terrible. You should really stick to watching anime. You talentless hack, kill yourself." Well, Puss Destroyer, that's not really a question, but it's the thought that counts. You know what? Why don't we do the Twitter questions first? Why don't I get this warning out of the way now? If I mispronounce your name, have an easier to pronounce name. On to the Twitter questions. Martin asks, what is your favorite KyoAni production? Well, I'd have to say Clannad After Story, but it's pretty close between that and K-On! In terms of the actual direction and animation, K-On! All the way. But if you've seen my top 30 list in the video I made on Clannad, I just like it too much to choose anything else. Full Metal Massify asks, what's your least favorite anime? That's pretty easy, actually. White Album. White Album is terrible. The writing is absolutely atrocious, the characters are flat generic, the story goes nowhere, it's nothing but a bunch of melodramatic gobbledygook, and perhaps the worst thing is that its sequel, White Album 2, is not a sequel at all. Literally, the only thing in common the two series have, other than the name, is a few insert songs. That's it. And I actually like White Album 2. I think it's a pretty good romantic drama and would absolutely recommend it to fans of the genre. White Album, on the other hand, is pure trash. It is cancer. It killed anime. Mr. AJ Cosplay wants to know my thoughts on the community and where I think it's headed in terms of content. I actually like the direction it's headed. I think thanks to people like Canepa and others, I think we're starting to get more interested in the individuals who make the anime we enjoy so much, rather than just glossing over it as a whole. I think the idea that the community needs saving, sort of like the idea that anime needs saving, is a little foolish, to be honest. There's a lot of really interesting blogs out there that have been doing this kind of thing already and for much longer, and I think the anime YouTube community is sort of playing catch-up. The video medium offers a lot of avenues that just pure text can't provide, and I think you're starting to see more and more people take advantage of those. That's what I want to see more of. Taking full advantage of the benefits the video medium provides, and starting to provide interesting content that gets at why we like things, rather than just whether we like things. Cardcaptor asks, what are some anime that you love, or at least enjoyed, that majority dislikes? Not K-On! Because that's awesome. You know, I don't really have that one show that everyone hates, but I actually like. K-On! Would be the closest thing, I guess, but do people actually hate it anymore? I feel like the general consensus has kind of flipped in the last few years. But trying to think of other stuff off the top of my head, I really need to think about this some more because there's not an obvious answer. I know there's definitely a few bigger ones though, but I can't think of them right now, so this is kind of a half answer. Timu Sipala asks, you can design a setting for an anime and choose the studio that will make it. What kind of anime will it be? Okay, well the second part of this question is, that shouldn't even be a question. Obviously KyoAni, but if I could design a setting for it, I want it to be something that hasn't been done before, or at least hasn't been done a lot. What if we put it in a place where a large group of young people who didn't know what they want to do in life yet got together and learned things? Not a lot of things. They dicked around and goofed off most of the time. What if we put an anime in a place like that? That could be interesting. Yeah. Vladislav asks, what are your thoughts on the concept of guilty pleasure in the context of anime? Guilty pleasure is kind of a stupid term. It's sort of used as a safeguard. You know, people who like a show that everyone hates say it's their guilty pleasure so that they don't feel bad for liking it, but the whole idea of feeling bad for liking something is stupid. It's all subjective. You like what you like. If everyone else hates it, then fuck them. Like, who cares, you know? You shouldn't necessarily feel guilty for what you like is what I'm trying to say. Arvidu asks, do you think boring taste is a thing? Okay, well that kind of goes back into the guilty pleasure idea. I can sit here and say taste is taste, but I mean it's all subjective. Don't be afraid to say you like whatever you like. If that's K-On!, then that's K-On!. If that's Arya or Anne of Green Gables or Legend of the Galactic Heroes, then say it's that and tell me why it's that. But don't just sit there and tell me Legend of the Galactic Heroes is the greatest anime of all time. And then when I ask you, okay, why do you think that? You say, it's just great, or even worse, don't say, because my favorite anime YouTuber said so. That's probably the worst thing you could do. Have your own opinion, form your own thought, be an individual. All right, moving on. Amin asks, what anime you think deserves a remake? Tsukihime. Bam. I don't even know if it counts as a remake because the Tsukihime anime doesn't exist, but yeah, that would be my answer. Louise asks, are you watching Kisnaver or Kuromakuro this season? What do you think of the show so far? Please be up to date. I'm currently, or about to be working on Summer Anime You Should Be Watching video whenever I get done with this Q&A, but just wait, be patient, you'll get all my thoughts on every show that's airing right now. Louise also asks, will you ever watch Gintama or Osamatsu-san or Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun? Definitely a watch if you're a fan of comedy. Gintama I've watched a little bit of. Obviously, there's a ton to sort through, so not all of it. I do think it's funny, and maybe when I have more time down the road, I'll get to more of it. Osamatsu-san I watched the first core of and enjoyed it. It got a little old for me, and I just kind of fell behind, and now I don't really have the desire to go back to it. And Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun is probably, definitely my favorite comedy of 2014. Just Call Me Kai asks, I'm gonna take credit for your channel getting big. How do you feel knowing I made your channel big? And then gives us a picture of, when he told me that my channel was gonna get big. Thank you. Daniel asks, Apple, Android, or Microsoft? Well, Daniel, I am millennial garbage, and all my products are Apple. How fast can you watch anime? Any burnouts? I can watch anime pretty damn fast. The fastest I've watched a series is Brotherhood, 64 episodes in like 4 or 5, I think it was 4 days. But yeah, no, and I definitely have gotten burnouts. In fact, currently right now, well, maybe not by the time I upload this Q&A, but I haven't watched a single episode of anime in several weeks. Sometimes you just gotta take a break. Simple as that. And finally, he asks Type Moon or Key. They're kind of impossible to compare. And by kind of, I mean so impossible that I'm not gonna try to do it. Lacanus asks, single best line or quote in any anime. Any of the Shiro Gems and any of the Fates Denied adaptations, take your pick. If you had to choose between Yuno and Yuki, who would you marry? So you're basically asking, would I rather get murdered by a crazy bitch or kill myself because of Yuki's incessant whining? Crazy bitch. Dre Morath asks, what's your favorite color? Green. SLVFMA asks, in what aspect of the video making process would you say you've improved on the most since the first video you made? Scripting. I think my actual writing has gotten a lot better. Some of the things I said in my earlier videos were kind of generic and very formulaic, and I think that in my more recent stuff, I've really gotten into making actual videos that had some sort of arc to them, and not just, this is the anime I'm talking about, this is the story, these are the characters, animation, sound, here's the score, And I think that's just mostly a product of my writing getting more rounded and just better in general. But I'll let you be the judge of that. Abel asks, what is the length of your middle finger? I don't know, why don't you tell me? Alejandro asks, what do you think about Ore ga Iru? I like it a lot. Some people say it's just melodramatic and over the top, but I disagree. I think there's definite meaning in it. And not to mention, it has one of the few love triangles I actually enjoy. I'd have to say Yui's best girl, but I would not mind seeing this go the harem route, for sure. They're all great. Especially the counselor. Actually, she's real best girl. Murder Phoenixes asks, what are your 3 sizes? Lomi says, what's your favorite meme? Blood Cruznik says, what do you think anime as a medium will be like in the next 5 to 10 years? I think CG will play a bigger and bigger role. I think we're going to start to see a lot more 3D animation in general. But in terms of stories, the genres are fairly consistent throughout time. I mean, okay, sure, Moe has taken on a much bigger role in recent years, and I expect that it'll continue to do so, but I don't see any doomsday coming for anime in 5 to 10 years if that's what anybody thinks. Joshua Barron says, do you play JRPGs? If so, which ones? Not really. The most recent thing I played was Xenoblade Chronicles X, but in this video, I know for a fact I'm going to get a lot of questions about video games, and just to put this out there, I barely play video games at all. Tarek asks, have you ever practiced some sports? Yes, I played baseball, basketball, football, and soccer when I was a kid, meaning little, and then starting in high school, I played golf. I was never particularly good at any of them, so that's why they never stuck. Alex asks, would you rather be blind or deaf? Definitely deaf. You guys know visuals are the most important thing to me, obviously. Ravi asks, who was your first husbando? This bitch right here. I'm talking way back. Hod Todd asks, what live-action Western TV shows do you enjoy? The key word here is enjoy. If that's the case, then Game of Thrones would be my first obvious answer. I read the books after I watched the first season, twice except for Feast for Crows, and in general have kept up with the show as it airs and really enjoyed it most of the time. It definitely has some problems and issues, but I almost even enjoy talking about those. It's just a show I like to discuss. In fact, if I was really concerned about making my channel big and I wanted hundreds of thousands and millions of subscribers, I probably would have made a Game of Thrones channel instead. But the decision was really that I have people to talk to about Game of Thrones, and I don't have anyone to talk to about anime. So, here we go. If you want my favorite Western TV show ever, then that would be Breaking Bad. I know I'm not going to surprise anyone with that answer, but it's the truth. Taro Dog asks, are you going to do a review of Girls in Panzer? Probably not, because other people have done so, and they sum my thoughts up on the series pretty well. Nachiko Tsuki asks, would you rather A, share a tea party with the K-On! Girls, B, tease Edward about his height, or C, eat chimichanga with Deadpool? A part of me thinks that I would actually hate a tea party with the K-On! Girls, because in the real world, I don't usually interact with cute, bubbly personalities very well, but just for the novelty of it, I'm going to go with that. Sergio asks, are you taller than your dad? Yes, by several inches. I'm 5'11", by the way, just so you know. The anime you want the most to get a sequel? Yona of the Dawn. And favorite way to eat a potato? Fried or mashed? Help says, if you had to choose between a horse the size of a chicken or a chicken the size of a horse, which one would you choose? Shiomi Alon asks, are you going to review Berserk or One Piece? One Piece, I would definitely say don't get your hopes up. Maybe in the future, if I really get the urge to review Berserk, I will. But until then, maybe is the best answer I can give you. Elise says she's going to be boring and asks, what's my age? I'm 19 at the time of recording this, but I might be 20 when I upload it. Alec asks, I accidentally the entire cast of K-On! Is that dangerous? Well, the most dangerous part about this question is that missing verb. I need some more words here, Alec. Jordan says, best K-On! Girl. Well, Jordan, there's only one right answer, and judging by your Azusa profile pic, you're probably not going to like it, but Mio is clearly best girl. All of them are top tier and perfectly acceptable answers, but it's Mio. Coastward says, is your family disappointed of your interest in anime? Is the sky blue? In all seriousness, my family doesn't really know of my interest in anime that much. At least they're not aware of how deep this disease runs. And they're just sort of like, oh yeah, that Japanese cartoon stuff, but they have no idea. Wandering Detective says, who is your favorite anime villain? That guy at the other animation studio in Shirobako who's always slacking off and not getting the job done? Fuck, that guy pissed me off. Brooke asks, what do you dream about? Mr. Nice Guy asks, best cat girl. Okay, this is probably the easiest question I'm going to get this entire video. That's clearly Black Hanekawa. He also asks favorite YouTubers. Definitely Jinx. Favorite Ghibli film? Probably Spirited Away. And favorite Saber fanfiction? Can't say that I've read any. Kevin asks favorite anime episode and why. I'm going to go with, I can't remember the number, but the episode in Clannad After Story where Tomoya and Ushio reconcile and are in the episode in the field. No single episode before or since has affected me like that one episode of Clannad After Story. Selena asks, who are your AniTube senpais? Any of them that are older than me, any of them that have more subs than me, any of them who are better than me, or D, all of the above. So that might be all of them, I don't know. And how to make videos you don't hate immediately. To not think about it too hard. Finally, for our last Twitter question, some penguin fellow asks, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? There's only one objective answer here, and that's banana. If you disagree, then I'll throw raspberry and any mint flavor in there. But banana is clearly the one true flavor. And on that important note, let's move on to the YouTube questions. The Puss Destroyer, oh wait, we already talked about that one. Feather151 says, what's your favorite food? Can I go with the most American answer possible and say a cheeseburger? Fuck it, let's go with that. Ivakapo says, are you going to review Rebellion? The better question is, am I going to watch Rebellion? What about Code Geass? Depends if I want to, like I said earlier about Berserk. Do you like playing video games, and if you do, which genre is your favorite? Yeah, here's another video game question. I don't play that many video games. Part of it's because of time. I don't have the time to play a bunch of video games, watch a bunch of anime, do some of the other things I like to do, and make these videos. The other thing is money. It costs a lot. I'd rather spend all that money on the disease that is being a weeb. If I had to say which genre is my favorite, I don't even know if I have one. My favorite franchise is Zelda. Classic nerd answer, I know. I know that's not a genre, but I feel like I should give you something. And then why did you start making videos? I sort of touched on this at the beginning of this video, but it was mostly just because I didn't have anyone to talk to about anime, and I saw other people doing this. I thought, hey, I can probably do that, and so I gave it a shot. Thankfully, it all worked out, and now finally, after a few years of absolutely nothing, I have some people that I can blather on to about my love of anime. Emma asks, what colored socks are you wearing? Joke's on you, I'm not wearing any socks right now. Do you share food? I guess. What are your opinions on cats? They're okay. Which anime OSTs are your favorites? 4 off the top of my head, Fooly Cooly, Cowboy Bebop, Kara no Kyokai, and Nagi no Asukara. I know I'm missing some of my favorites, but those are the 4 that immediately came to my mind. MonkeyBoy2947 asks, which is the best episode of Space Dandy? I don't know, you tell me, I haven't watched Space Dandy. MacArthur72 asks, whenever there is a Q&A, there's always a guy who asks how to get ladies. In order to keep the tradition going, how do you get them ladies? A magician never reveals his secrets.
Huh, that means he doesn't get any.
The Fabulous Super Pickle asks, I just got done with Nichijou while wasted as hell, and I must say it was the best anime experience in my life. Do you have similar stories about getting drunk, high, etc. while watching anime? Well, being underage myself, I have never partaken in the devil's broth, that is alcohol, so I can't really answer this question. Seriously though, if you're ever in the mood to get extremely depressed, get wasted and watch End of Eva. That was a trip. Phil Stevenson says, were you inspired by other anime reviewers such as Arcada, and how do you see your style of reviewing as being different from the others? Basically, all the ones I watched inspired me because I saw what they did and said, that looks like fun, I want to do that. How is my style of reviewing different? Really after my Anime Awards video. I think that's when I started to come into my own. Right now, the next few videos, I don't even know when I have the next straight review planned. I've sort of gotten away from that. I can't really point to anything specific that's my gimmick or whatever, but I think my videos speak for themselves. I think I finally found my own style, and I guess I'll have to let you be the judge of that. Full Metal Ghoul says, do you ever plan to do more collabs in the future? Nudge, nudge. I'm generally open and willing to work with people. A lot of it just depends on my schedule. He also asks, what are your favorite American films? I'm pretty generic when it comes to my taste in American film. Like a lot of the AFI Top 100 stuff fits my taste. Kon or Yuasa? Well, seeing as how Tatami Galaxy is the only thing by Yuasa I've seen, I guess I have to go with Satoshi Kon, but I'll have to answer this question later once I've seen more of Yuasa's work. Dr. Block 42 says, how do you edit your videos? Which programs do you use? And give a basic rundown of the workflow. Alright, why don't I do that? First, it starts when I have an idea. Then I wrestle with exactly what specifically I want to do before finally deciding to write the script. After struggling for several days with procrastination, I finally write the script and get it done. Usually in 1, maybe 2 sittings. Once I have that, I read the script a couple times, edit it, and record it, before then plugging it all into my editing software, which I use Final Cut Pro 10, by the way. After that, it depends on how long the script is, with how long it takes me to edit it. It usually takes around 3 days or so, depending on how much time I have to work. Once the editing's done, I watch it full through a couple times before exporting it and uploading it to YouTube. It's really as simple as that. If you want to know the hardest part, honestly, it's probably just getting the motivation to do it all. Once I start writing the script, it's fine. I get in a flow and can churn it out pretty quickly, especially if it's something I'm interested in talking about. And the editing is mostly just busy work. But yeah, I mean, for both the editing and the writing, just starting, finding the motivation. QM asks, what studio do you think is the most creative and unique? I would probably say that Chef would actually be my answer for this question. The staff that works on shows from other studios is completely different from series to series, so it's hard to draw those large trends throughout the studio. That question honestly begets a whole video on its own, but anyways, moving on. Pocky Candy asks, are you a sports fan, and what teams are you a fan of if you are a sports fan? Absolutely. In fact, sports are probably the one thing that I watch as much as I watch anime. The sport I watch the most would be the NFL, and I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. Other sports that I follow that I'm fans of, in college football, my school, University of Georgia, obviously, but also Wisconsin. Same thing goes for college basketball. In the NBA, I'll go with my hometown, Atlanta Hawks, and as well as the Braves in baseball. I don't much care for the Falcons in the NFL, but that's just because I've always been a Packer fan. Oh, and soccer-wise, Premier League, follow Arsenal. I think a lot of it comes down to it's hard to enjoy sports if you're not invested in a team. And in all those sports I just mentioned, I am, whatever that team does, win or lose, actually affects me, sort of like watching an anime would. Lucas asks, how do you pay for school? Scholarship, my money, and my parents' money. I'm fortunate enough now where my parents are able to help me through school. If I was going to college 5 or 6 years ago, that would absolutely not have been the case because my dad was unemployed and my mom had just gotten a job. My parents are divorced, by the way, but now they've both secured jobs that are relatively well-paying, and so they're able to help me through school and with rent if I need it. Bleach Naruto 90 asks, do you play League of Legends? I don't. In fact, I don't play any MMOs. It's not that I don't like them, it's just I've never played any MMOs, so maybe I'll have to try it out. Stronghammer4815 says, I was kind of surprised Spice and Wolf is nowhere to be found on your top 30 or poll. It is my number 5 on my favorite shows, so my question is, have you seen Spice and Wolf yet? If not, will you? And if yes, what did you think of it? It wasn't on the poll only because I just didn't really want to review it at the time, but it was in my top 30 as an honorable mention. If you rewatch the intro before I start talking about my actual top 30, all of those clips are honorable mentions. Spice and Wolf, I know for a fact, was the very first clip I put in, so it's definitely an honorable mention, and I really, really did like it. The reason it's not higher, because it doesn't have a season 3, and it needs an ending. It needs a proper ending. Sometime down the road, I do plan on making another video with both shows that I wasn't able to mention in that list, as well as the shows that I'll have watched between now and then. Brian Lopez asks, how do you balance school and your videos? This is a question I get a lot, actually. Most of you guys probably know by now that I'm a pre-med biochemistry and molecular biology major at the University of Georgia, and I'm a rising junior. Really, it just comes down to the fact that I enjoy doing it. When I can motivate myself to do it, and when I'm writing about something I'm actually interested in, then it's easy. I gladly do it. Now, there are some weeks where it's just not feasible, and most of the time when I've skipped a week, it's just because I'm just been too busy with school. But the bottom line is school always comes first. My YouTube channel is not my career goal. I never plan on making this a full-time job. I'll keep making videos as long as I can, but at some point down the line, potentially in medical school, there may come a time when I can't consistently make videos anymore, and if so, then so be it. That's a pretty depressing way to end this Q&A. This is supposed to be a 10,000 subscriber special celebrating the growth of my channel, and I'm ending it by saying my channel has an expiration date on it. Wow. That sucks.